Yes. Hey!
Hey, what is up, boys and girls? This is David, Stephen Patterson here, one half of the dynamic and, dare I say, moderately handsome duo of the Headhunters and Boxers Talk and Smack, and then my brother from another mother, right? Actually, right there. Depends on where you are. Right
Speaking
there.
of handsome, my friend, I like a beard. I think it looks great on you. I saw that picture of you deadlifting 475 pounds. Without that beard on, you've got a very handsome face. Why do you hide it with the hair?
Oh, because I got fat. That's why. That video of me deadlifting 485, that was when I was a lean, mean deadlifting
Holy
machine.
cow, dude. My back, I was in pain watching that. Like, that's crazy.
That's not even my PR. I did five. So my PR is 515.
PR for us losers. Personal record.
Personal record. Yeah, it's a CrossFitty thing. I was a CrossFitter for many years. Yeah, I've got a 515 deadlift, but no one wants to hear about my glory days back when I was a beast. How you doing, Neil?
I am doing fabulously well. Really well. I told him I'm excited for my big move to Manhattan. I'm gonna get my apartment couple of days before New Year's, and I'm literally 10-minute walk from Times Square. So assuming they don't cancel it because of Omicron, so far they're not. I have no interest in going to Times Square on New Year's Eve, but the crowd and the energy, I'm totally gonna walk there and back and grab a drink and enjoy. So I'm excited.
Well, hopefully Omicron Prime, that's what I call it because I'm a big Transformers guy. Hopefully Omicron Prime won't get in the way of your move. And by the way, for those of you who are tuning in wondering where the heck is David Perry, and here are these two lunks on the screen. David Perry is going to be on in just a few minutes. In fact, we're probably going to bring him on in about 2 minutes or so. We're pretty excited. Neil, I don't know what happened. He actually agreed to be on our show. Can you believe it?
And I'm making sure I'm streaming in my group there right now. He did agree, and to his peril, as we always know.
I know he's a glutton for punishment. I don't know what got in his head. I didn't ask why. I didn't want to jinx it. But that said, for those of you who don't know, David Perry, we're about to bring him on. David Perry is a master in the search game. He's one of the legends. He's the creator of the Inside Out methodology that he uses in his retained practice. He's the author of Hiring Greatness, which is one of my favorite books on hiring. It's probably one of my top two. Hiring Greatness. He's written Executive Recruiting for Dummies, which is specifically written for me.
Oh, David, can you add me into your other? Add me into the other stream.
Oh, you are. Okay, gotcha. Oh boy, sorry about that, everybody. We had a little bit of a snafu there with my buddy Neil. There we go. All right.
There we go.
Anyway, as I was saying,
it shows up in my personal group. I had to go out and in.
No worries. But he is the writer of Hiring Greatness, Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters, Executive Recruiting for Dummies. He has a brand new job board that we're going to be talking about today, which is going to be the one job board to rule them all. And yeah, we're going to be talking about that. So I'd say let's go ahead and bring David Perry on.
And one thing. Speaking of job boards, for those loyal people on David and my job board, we are sad to announce that we will be closing the job board effective December 31st. Not enough people and not enough activity, and it's a chicken and the egg thing. And so no one will be charged going forward. Appreciate everyone who did it. And like anything out there, you got to be in it to win it. Got to try. And it was great in theory, but just never really took off. So
job board.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? They should have. Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
Oh no! I know it's done. I've promoted it in forever. I was joking around that we had a job board in the first place.
Oh, that we had a job board.
That was a bad joke. It was funnier in my head. Let's bring on David Perry because this show is quickly going downhill fast. Here we go. David, welcome to the show.
Morning, Dave. Morning, Neil. How are you?
Is that a real background or a fake one?
No, that's a real background. This is where I am every single day. I don't.
Do you always keep it that clean?
I've already made it.
You always keep it that clean?
Yeah, actually, because most of my clients meet us on Zoom. You know, we stopped doing in on-site in-house visits 2 years ago. I mean, first time we got out to see a client was probably about 2 months ago, and we sat across the boardroom table, and they all had masks on. We had masks on. It made it very difficult to drink coffee through a straw.
Well, you
So
could
I actually like this.
use the fake backgrounds. In fact, so I'm moving, as I mentioned. My house is in total disarray. My office is closed. My living room has all stuff over it. So with the power of magic backgrounds, what's embarrassing is this is
That guy in the
really
back that
where I
keeps
am
doing the
in
same
my
thing.
bed with no background, right? So
Yeah, but isn't
that
it? I
doesn't
mean,
look good.
doesn't it? Like that's the business we're in, right? I was talking to one of my friends last week, talking about the two guys I placed in between contractions for my third child or my second daughter. Literally, I closed two engineers with a client, and when my first daughter was born, apparently I went to the phone and phoned the CEO of the largest pension fund in Canada and left a voicemail message. I only know this because his secretary called back the next day and said, Chuck's going to do the deal. And I said, yeah, that's nice. Okay, why? He said, well, the voicemail message you left last night. I said, Marty, my wife's been given birth. I've been in the room, but for maybe a coffee the entire time. She said, oh no, at 5:15, you left the following voicemail message, and she played it for me. I won't reiterate, but we closed the deal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I had, true story. This is within the last quarter. So a couple of months ago, I was on with a client one-on-one on Zoom, and they turned off the back. Well, whatever happened, something got messed up. They were on the toilet. And the whole thing went off, and it would be like me shutting up when you see that it's my headboard in the background. They were literally taking a number two. I'm assuming it was number two because they were sitting down.
Well, wait a minute. What would be worse, that or somebody pulling a Jeffrey Toobin? If people remember the Jeffrey Toobin incidents,
everyone remembers it. Which
especially
would I
people
prefer?
on the
I
call
prefer
remember the
neither.
Jeffrey Toobin incident.
That's a no-win answer. Which do I prefer?
So
none.
I think the point to this is, we're everybody's worried about what the workplace is going to look like after Christmas, right after the holidays, when we come back in 2022. And the question is, does it really matter? Because most people want to be paid for what they're doing with their brains, not necessarily where they're doing it. And we are the epitome of that. Our industry is the epitome of that. Whether we're closing a deal or, signing something in the back of a taxi or through text. I've closed deals, in a text message. It doesn't matter. We just have to get it done. It doesn't matter where we do it. And I think that's lost on most of the world who don't have that privilege. One of the coaches, I can't remember who it is, talks about being a laptop recruiter. Or an iPhone recruiter. So, more power to you.
Yeah, I think more of an iPhone recruiter, because personally, I don't know about you, David, but I've tried the laptop at the beach thing. It doesn't work. I can't see the screen. The sand gets in the keyboard. It's a big pain in the butt. But my phone,
but you could do what I do: is go out there for a couple hours, plan your meeting, go back to your hotel or your beach rental, and work and go out. Like, I love that. But I'm with you. So I was thinking about this. So a lot of the big companies, I mean, all of them, really, you name it, IT, accounting, finance, legal, whatever, all their people are virtual now. They have hubs, they're doing whatever, but I'm not all of them, but the vast majority of them are virtual. And I'm thinking, like, that's fine now. And they're like, all this money they're saving on real estate, and they're closing offices, and they're taking restructuring losses. How are new, and this, it's the same challenge that independent recruiters that used to have an office that no longer do. Isn't training and development gonna, and I'm not saying this because I used to be a trainer, but isn't that gonna really suffer? Like, newbies would go into these big companies and be able to learn from all these people. Like, are numbers gonna, like, is turnover gonna be crazy high? Like, do you get where I'm going? Like, I'm really,
well, I mean, I think should never be higher, but I think the way you structure training, needs to be structured differently. But I think there's lots of companies out there that I'm aware of. In fact, even my own company, we're all remote, and you just got to change the way you look at training and onboarding your new people, and also the way you can conduct meetings.
Can a newbie get trained? And David, you can ask, can a newbie get trained not working around people and just with the DSPs of the world and the boot camps of the world, and not hearing these great people on the phone day in and day out, and having someone lean over their shoulder and say, hey, no, listen, why'd you just say that? Like, I think it's a crazily detrimental.
So So here's my thought on that. I agree with you, but I also agree with David. Here's my thought on that. I started out in 1985, went out on my own in 1988. I mean, we didn't have trainers in 1985. We had Tony.
Burns.
Hey,
Thanks.
Burn
And there's cassettes, right? But here's my issue.
with all those
Anybody
poses.
that wants to learn, they don't have to go to school. They don't have to get trained. Anybody that actually wants it can do it, but you have to want it. And as recruiters, if you're in the business, you've already proven that you want it. And so picking up training, I mean, that's going to change, of course. But I think the coaches that we have, David and you and Peter Lefkowitz and a bunch of the other guys, I think that's enough for most recruiters, because what they really need beyond that kind of coaching is an understanding of business. And you can get that through books. You can get that through Wondrium, watching stuff on television. I think if you want to do it, you're going to do it. If not, it falls to training and development to bring you up to speed. And that's just a loser's limp, as far as I'm concerned.
For my opinion on this, I think that obviously the training has to be structured a little bit differently. So, for example, when it comes to having somebody over your shoulder listening to your calls, or you're listening to other people's calls, it's just simply a matter of making sure that. I will say this: even in an office, what I've seen, one of the biggest issues with managers or owners is that they will tell the recruiter, "Hey, here's a script, or do this, and here's the structure." Yet the owner gets on the call and doesn't follow any of it.
Yeah.
None of it, right? That's a big issue. The leader has to be able to do the thing that they're teaching. And I think if, and that's from my perspective, but barring that, I think if the owner or the manager has recorded good calls that follow structure, put that in maybe their ramping sort of portal, whatever it is, training, and then also making sure the rep, look, I need you to record 3 calls, or maybe all calls are recorded, and the manager picks 1 or 2 random calls to listen to every day from the team and provide feedback. I think in a lot of ways you can still get that same sort of a training. I have to structure differently, but I think there's for the in-person stuff, if the owner doesn't follow their own advice, their own training, then it doesn't really matter, because again, owners very rarely actually do the thing the way they're supposed to do it. They rely on their years of experience, their ability to wing it, and that's one of the biggest issues I see.
David, your books, you do lots of training, lots of material for people out there, and you're not a trainer,
no,
right?
But never going to be a trainer. Never going to be a trainer.
But you felt compelled to share this great wisdom and help people with your books and with your collateral and stuff, right? So I'm just curious over why, given there's so much that's out there, and what are the pearls of wisdom that they can glean? And again, you're not doing it for the money, So why?
No, clearly not.
Right. So what made you do it? What was the empty space, and how'd you build a better mousetrap, or how'd you refine what the mousetrap is, I guess?
Oh man, those are big questions, and I'll try to keep it short. So why did I do it? Read the epilogue in the book, Hiring Greatness. Hiring Greatness has an epilogue. There's 3 pages at the back end of it. I sent it to David as a download. He can put it up if he wants to, but essentially, without getting too teary-eyed, in 1971, I'm living in the United States of America, and Richard Nixon's cardiologist was invited in to do my heart operation, an operation that had never been done before in the world. I wasn't expected to live. I lived. I lived at the United States Air Force Academy.
That's terribly great.
I lived at the United States Air Force Academy for 4 years, and my mother was in the hospital for most of it. So I was brought up by the neighbors in our cluster. So what I experienced was in America back in the late 60s, early 70s that blew my mind. And so I have always been in a position to want to pay it back. And what I do for a living, I have an incredible life, a great lifestyle. It's a lifestyle business for me. So I started paying it back. I wrote the Guerrilla marketing books. I wrote Hiring Greatness because I wanted to lift all the, rising tide lifts all boats. I wanted to put a methodology together that people could follow, so that instead of trying to explain what they were doing to clients, they could say, here you go, read the book. This is what I'm doing. Read the book. And then follow along, so they could actually do your business rather than having to educate the client along the way. And it was the same thing with executive recruiting for dummies. I took the process that we built starting in 1988 that allowed us to not to have to replace somebody. We're much better recruiters than internal HR managers or VPs. We've always been. Our retention rate is 100% over 3-4 years. I just had a guy quit. He retired 2 years ago into a company, or from a company where I had to fight with the CEO to get him to hire him. The company was doing 307 million at the time. They hired this guy, and he became divisional president over the 25 years, and he was the pivotal hire. And they left. He left when they were at 3.4 billion. So we have a major impact. We can have a major impact on businesses. Essentially, when hiring managers do what they're supposed to do, and God forbid, HR gets out of the way and actually partners with us. So that's why I wrote the books. Rather than trying to convince people, I just go, here's the book. Read the book. Call me when you're ready. It's as simple as that. Clients call us up and say, hey, I was referred to you by so-and-so. And I'll actually phone so-and-so and make sure they were actually a referral, because if they weren't, now I'm suspicious. You have to be referred to us to become a client. Does that answer that question, Neil?
Well, yeah, why you got into it? What are some of the major takeaways that you want to share with the audience of just, there's no right answer, just some of your pearls of wisdom for cracking this thing?
I don't know if they're pearls of wisdom, but the way we run our practice is real simple. We actually are the experts. We know we're the experts at what we do. We go after passive candidates, and we do it well. We've got all the tools, got all the technology, got all the verbiage. So we're going to do a better job than them. I know that. So before we start a project, what do you need to know about me or about my team or about us, so that you'll just be along for the journey, because we're partners in this. And if you don't view us as partners, we're the wrong search firm.
Okay, Dave, do you really, or what percentage of recruiters do you think really do that, meaning finding passive candidates? Because we say that, but I've seen so many people say that, but all they're doing is posting on job boards.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. For us, it's near 100%. I think I've had there might be 2 people in the 33 years that I've gotten off a job board, and I just got lucky. I just got lucky that they happened to be between opportunities when they saw the stuff. That's all it was. So you may eventually ask me, why am I putting up a job board for recruiters? But we'll get to that. But passive candidates, for us, it's near 100%.
No, I love a job board for recruiters to find passive candidates and to get job leads. That's why.
So that's the job board that we're building. I'm going to need some people over the next 4 to 6 months to sit on an advisory board. But we have written a job board that's free for candidates, obviously, free for recruiters, not obviously, but it will be. The attraction for candidates will be that the jobs won't be more than 10 days old. So it's always fresh. So they have to come in and see it. We're not allowing them to post their resumes yet. We will around April or May. But when they post their resumes, they will not be able to use their real names. They will not be able to link their LinkedIn profile. They will not be able to leave their phone number, because we want them to post once and stay forever. We want them to have the anonymity to come and keep their finger on the pulse of what's happening in the marketplace. Because when you and I, not so much Dave, but when you and I got out of university, we were expected to take a job that we were going to keep for the rest of our life. We started at the bottom probably and worked our way up. Now, CTOs have a life expectancy of 18 months. Give me a break. It takes the average American 38 to 40 weeks to find a job. If the tenure is slipping to 2 years or less, so for most people it's 2 years or less, if it takes you're only in a job for 2 years and it takes you 10 months to find one, you're in trouble. So, we're building a system that will allow people to always be on, always be available, and always have the best opportunities for them right at their fingertips. And
so what are you doing to drive traffic then? Because I know one of the big things or the big issue with job boards is it just has, was talking about this chicken or the egg, right? It's you need traffic, but you need a lot of activity to get the traffic, but you don't get the activity without the traffic. So what are you doing to, for recruiters who are going to join the board, what are you doing for them to start driving traffic and candidates and whatnot to the board?
Right. Meaning you can get 100 people in 10 minutes that go on there. As soon as I go in and see no jobs on there or no one's responding to it, they're done. Yeah, right. So it's such a chicken and the egg thing.
So we wrote the original aggregator long before Simply Hired, long before Indeed. In the early 2000s, we had an aggregator. And so, what we built was a meta board. So this is the, one board to rule them all. We're going to aggregate all the aggregators. Right now, if you go on workinsight.io, you'll find anywhere from 75 to 91,000 jobs. That's just the stuff that we've aggregated. Now what we're going to do is, as we were aggregating, so we funneled 31 million jobs through the system to make sure it was robust, and we tried to break it. And unfortunately, we did many times, but it works now. Making sure that we had the right system. So we've collected the names and the email addresses of all the recruiters that have posted these jobs on all these different boards. And fairly shortly in January, the messages will start to go out that says, hey, Neil, saw this job that you posted. Great. Hey, if you want to post more, because we put it on our website, we aggregated it, come over here. And all these jobs are free, and you can post as much as you want. And if you, as a recruiter, Dave, are a specialist in SAP, well, you want to come in and you want to fill out your recruiter profile, because as candidates become more and more passive in a candidate-driven marketplace, they're going to become more and more picky. If somebody says, hey, you know what, I don't like my SAP job, I want a new SAP job in Colorado, they'll be able to go to the board, do a search of recruiters, and oh, there's the guy or the gal or the two people that specialize just in SAP in Colorado. So you get to talk to them. So we're building this to make it easier for passive candidates to come and stay and be informed, for active candidates to come and see everything that's available out there, because we'll aggregate everything, well, almost everything. And for people that, again, that are passive candidates, if they want to work with a recruiter, to understand how to do that and pick one that they're going to be comfortable working with. That answer that question?
Yep. So go back to passive candidates. How do you do it? And so, because again, I don't think a lot of people are great at it. There's a lot of different methods. What's your MO, or what's your prescribed MO?
So a couple of ways. I'll take a recent example. We just hired the CIO for a satellite company, and this satellite company is going to compete with Bezos and can never pronounce his Elon Musk's satellite system. So our job was to find a CIO that could build the pipes that would run between the ground station and the satellite. For that, we needed to find all the CIOs and VPs of engineering in all of the telecommunications companies in North America and Canada, and in the major broadcasters like ABC, NBC, CBS. So we know what the target is. So we take all those companies, that's the mix, there's about 400 of them, and we turn to our researchers and say, hey, listen, I don't care if it's a Zoom Info, I don't care if it's LinkedIn, I don't care if you buy a directory, just bring me back the list of everybody that fits that profile. I need name, phone number, email address. They produce it. It goes into the system, and I read them, and then I smile and dial and call every single one of them. Mostly I get voicemail messages.
So you're smiling, dialing, you're not LinkedIn connecting and messaging there?
That's never really worked for me. I mean, I don't use my quota of 60 or whatever it is, 100 in-mails every month, because I'll pick up the phone. I just pick up and I'll leave a voicemail, and I'll say, hey, Neil, my name's David Perry. You probably don't even know who the heck I am. You're not familiar with the name. I'm the author of, and in this case, you're a candidate, I'm the author of Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters and the managing partner of Perry Martell International. And we specialize as a search firm in CIOs for telecommunications companies in North America. And that's why I'm calling you. I said, I want to get a call back so I can send you some information and you can sit down and read when you get some quiet time and decide whether or not we should have a deeper conversation. Boom. So it's part me, part Lefkowitz, part other people. And that's what I do. And I can sit down any time of the day. I mean, I'm notorious for getting up at, when I go after new clients, I just working on that list now. I'll get up at 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I'll do 2.5 hours of calls. Why? Because I'm going to get their voicemail. Why do I want their voicemail? Well, because the first thing they're going to do when they walk in Monday morning at 6 a.m., that's when the CEO comes in, is see the flashing light on their phone. Like, who the hell calls it that? And hit the button, and there's this voicemail.
No one has a flashing light on their phone anymore.
I still do.
You do.
No, it's a digital phone.
Yeah, you old guys do.
Yeah. There's
not
no
as young bucks
light
over here.
First thing
But
they're
that's
going
how
to
we
do
do
is
it.
go and hit that cassette tape and rewind it and listen. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
So does that answer that question?
Yes. I mean, I think with passive candidates, it's I like technology and I like doing all that. And certainly David and I have talked about this a ton. You need to do both. And so many people
Oh,
don't pick up the
absolutely.
phone, and it's such a lost art. I don't like getting manual lists like you do, but it's effective. I like using LinkedIn for that. I mean, anytime. So I would always train my people in the past on using job boards for two main reasons. One is, yeah, it's low hanging fruit. Every recruiter on the planet is calling them. They're going to call everyone and not be loyal or anything. Find out what the heck's going on within your candidate world. Who's hiring?
Exactly.
Who's got contracts going on? That's how you're going to get all these great leads of where you should be focusing your outbound sales marketing effort. And then once you talk to the person, just look at their connections on LinkedIn at companies you want to work for and ask, hey, can I mention your name? Like, they'll all say yes. And then you got a really warm passive candidate call. So they're one step away from a great passive candidate. And I was always a believer in, there's so many people, and so I say it, so many people that just do job boards, and it's easy and it can keep them busy the whole time, and they certainly can bill $100 or $200 or $300,000 a year doing it, but they're on the phone and they're one step away from that passive candidate that they can then skill mark and do all their wonderful things with and be so much more effective and efficient.
Yeah. So when we run an ad, I totally agree. When we run an ad, I'll run it on LinkedIn. I don't expect to find the person I'm looking for. What I will get is it market intelligence. Why is this guy looking? Why are these 15 or 20 people looking? What's going on in that organization? Is there an opportunity for me to talk to the CEO or the chairman or whoever and help them with their business, depending on the level I'm going in at? So I'll use it for competitive intelligence reasons.
But that mindset's gold. And I don't know that everyone, I know not everyone looks at it that way, because we see posts in our group over, what do you think about Facebook? I'm not getting anything from LinkedIn ads. I'm like, you're not doing it right then.
But it depends on at what level you're recruiting, right? I mean, I was just talking to clients this morning because we do our client update meetings on Friday mornings. I only do 3 projects at a time. That's all I have capacity for. I only have to do 3 projects at a time. I charge 33%, which I think is a fair wage. And it's partial retained and partial success fee. So I think that's a fair fee. And when I'm talking to these guys, we're laughing about Christmas because I said I need you available next week because I got 3 CAO candidates, Chief Administrative Officer candidates, that we have to interview, and I'm not waiting until the first week of January or the second week in January. I've been working on this for 6 weeks. So they all agreed, and they said, aren't you guys shutting down like this week? I said, no, we'll work right up to the 24th. And the reason I told them, the reason I do this is because the first full year I'm in the business, I'm an idiot. Okay, maybe I'm still an idiot in some ways, but I'm an idiot. I'm working the phones trying to set up interviews all through December. Everybody else in my office is out schmoozing with their clients, parties, dinners, the whole nine, and they're laughing behind my back and to my face. Well, did I place anyone in December? No. But I did place 28 people in January. I never forget that.
And why is that, David? Please tell.
Because they had done all the work. They'd done all the interviews during December. And I got to them as decision makers because they didn't have anything else to do. They're worried about next year's budget. How am I going to make next year's first quarter and second quarter? So the decision makers I want to talk to are available. They're not out partying. Now, the end of this story is that was my first full year in the business. I stayed 3 more quarters. I billed $758,000 those 3 quarters before I left. This is 1988, and minimum wage in Canada was about $2.95. To put it in perspective, it's $14 now. I mention this because the 6 people that were in the office with me collectively the following year billed $136,000. So you ask me, what do I do? What's my advice to people? You zig when everybody else is zagging. Don't follow the crowd. Cut your own path. I mean, I did not have fun writing those. I'm not a great writer. Anyone reads the books?
No, it was awful.
Yeah, dog shit.
Oh, thanks, Neil.
I didn't read it.
But it's painful for me to write. It doesn't come naturally. But I wrote that so that I would not have to sell anywhere near as hard as everybody else in the business, because
Right
I'm the
now,
guy that wrote X.
all right, I have a question about that. So somebody got a phone ringing somewhere.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's me. Don't worry about it.
Bullwinkle.
So my question is this. So what you just mentioned about writing books you don't have to sell works really well. So I talk a lot about doing things to make content, videos, a book, for example, whatever it is. The purpose really is to pre-sell as much as possible, because the more you do that, the less you have to do backflips when you're talking to somebody, right?
Yeah,
I think the same thing applies also on the candidate side. The more candidates know you, they recognize your name, the more likely to reply. But the problem nowadays, as many recruiters are facing, and as you mentioned, if you're doing the same as everybody else, you're going to get better results. Well, everybody is basically pounding these candidates to death, right? Voicemails and emails and LinkedIn, and it's gotten to the point where it's a lot of white noise. So so what should a recruiter do maybe over the next year to start to develop maybe a name, or may not write a book, but let's say, what can they do to start engaging their candidate pool, so when they are calling, they actually take the call?
That's a great book, David. Call it The Zig Factor.
I like that, but Zig Ziglar would have my ass if he was still alive.
The Zag Factor, then. The Zag. When everyone else is zigging, you zag. Just
the Zag effect.
So here's the answer to that question, guys. Seriously. You write what's called a roundup article. What the hell is a roundup article? Neil, you have a specialty in X. So Neil is going to pick 5 companies he wants to work for, or 3 companies he has as clients, and he's going to call them up and say, hey, I'm doing an article on, project management retention in the finance industry, and I want to interview you. Oh, wow, really? Yeah. I'm doing a piece for XYZ magazine. And so they go, great. So you interview them, you write the piece up, you send them a copy, or everybody you interview, you send a copy, and you get it published. All of a sudden, you're the expert. So you can use it on your website. You can use that to get interviews. Like I'm about to start a blitz for Work Insight. You asked me, how am I going to get the people to the altar? Same way I've always done it. I will bring PR. I mean, I didn't get in the Wall Street Journal because they discovered me. I got in the Wall Street Journal because I discovered them and gave them a reason to talk to me and nickname me the Rogue Recruiter. I got the cover story of Fortune magazine, not because I'm good looking. We all know this, because I had something to say, but I knew somebody who knew somebody that had a problem that they needed to cover for their first article in Fortune magazine. So the easiest way to do is start going out to news radio talk shows and say, hey, I'm a recruiter and I'm an expert in picket candidate engagement. Bring me on, and I'll tell you, all your listeners, how to avoid paying humongous recruiter fees, or how to avoid being left at the altar. And you start to have those kinds of conversations. And radio has been around a lot longer than podcasts. So you do those things. I mean, the Hiring Greatness. How did I get that book? Where did it come from? That was my 1,000th search. That came from a guy in Los Angeles who read a Wall Street Journal article where they nicknamed me the Rogue Recruiter. And about 3 weeks after the book came out, he phones me up and he says, is this the Rogue Recruiter? And I said, yeah, how can I help you? And he said, are you really any fucking good? Pardon my language. And I said, well, yeah. Again, who is this? He said, well, my name is, Fred Tuchinski. He says, I hired the 2 largest search firms in America. I spent $125,000 plus expenses with each of them. I got nothing. So what makes you think you do a better job? I said, Fred, you called me. How did you get my name? So I read about it in the Wall Street Journal. I said, okay, Fred, do you read the Wall Street Journal a lot? He goes, yeah. You trust them? Yeah. Okay. So you've just answered the question. Wow. I said, Fred, listen, you want to actually talk to me? Here's what you got to do. I said, I'll give you a couple of people you can talk to. Go away, talk to them, then make a decision. And if you decide you're going to call me again, don't call me. I said, send me 2 first-class tickets to LA, and I'll come down with one of my associates. And that's how the book starts, because that's how it happened. That was my 1,000th search. And after I finished that thing, the reason I wrote that book is I was just so goddamn mad. This guy's had got a great business. He spent 2 years trying to find someone to replace himself. And what he got from the 2 biggest search firms in the country was, no one's interested in your business. Not true at all. What they didn't tell him was that their hands-off list prevented them from talking to everybody, literally everybody that he would have wanted to have hired. He didn't know about what a hands-off list was, and I said, Jesus Christ, this is stupid. So that was the arrow that made me, okay, going to do the book. So do something like that. If people want to get more visibility so that they're good guys, then do something that helps the candidates. Do something that helps recruiters. I mean, honest to God, guys, we have much bigger problems in the world than filling the next Java programmer or SAP project manager. Global warming, global starvation, COVID-19. These are issues that we should be facing, but we can't, because everybody is so busy trying to keep their head above the water. And I'm talking about candidates, that we'd never get a chance to do any of the important stuff. So become the good guy by talking about how they can improve their business, so they don't have to waste their time, or the candidates or the recruiters or the employers waste their time talking to people they shouldn't be talking to. Give them the secrets. And the reason someone said, hold on, Dave. Someone once asked me, why don't? Sorry, Dave. I'll stop.
No. Good. Yeah. Well, we do have a question about that. Actually, I do want to dig in because I know you from personal experience. I know that recruiters will hear that and they will think, well, two things. One, I'm not an expert, or what do I talk about? That's one. And secondly, once I do that, then what? Because not, how do you promote it? How do you get that word out there? So there's really those two issues that I see happens a lot. Recruiters don't know what to talk about, or they're not an expert. And secondly, if they do it, what do they do then? Like, how do they parlay that into,
Great question. I can send you a piece on it if you want to distribute it later. But the bottom line is, yeah, you are an expert. You're an expert on something. If you're a recruiter, you're an expert on how you find people. You're an expert on how to interview people. And when I say expert, you're better than the person who doesn't know how to do that, which is just about everybody. Because most job interviews with companies start with the question, tell me about yourself. And you know where that's going, right? So you can talk about how to interview, what questions to ask. Yeah, thanks, Neil. All this kind of stuff. But you don't have to be the expert. You just have to tell them that you're the expert. And then you go out and get the people that are, pick an industry, finance, VP of operations, or CHRO in finance. Pick 2 or 3 of them. Ask them the probing questions that a reporter would ask them, because you're the person that wants to know. Take notes. And if you can't write it yourself, find someone on Fiverr that can take your notes and put it together, and put the piece together. And then you send the piece to them, and you send it to a magazine, or you put it up on your blog. There's 1,000 things you can do with it. I mean, I was the expert in construction and real estate until I found out that I wasn't the only one expert in construction and real estate. I did a piece, and I still got it somewhere, in 88, the first month in 88, when we were out talking about how I was the only recruiter in Canada that specialized in construction and property management. So the biggest newspaper for the construction industry, Daily Commercial News, said, "Oh, really? Oh." And so they published the PR piece I did, saying that I was the only guy that did this. And that's when I found out that there's 40 of us in the country, and they're all pissed. But none of them bothered to say anything. I did. I can't tell whether Neil's having a stroke or not, or he wants to ask a question.
You have to. He's always having he has a stroke every day on the show. No. But we're not worried about him. I got many replacement Neils in the background. He's actually a clone of the prior Neil. But anyway, that was kind of weird. But the one thing I will say to piggyback off that, you just have to do it. But one of the a really interesting thing I learned that really helped me was and I see other recruiters that are trying to get into content. They're afraid to start because they don't want to look like an idiot, right? They don't want to look stupid. Everybody hates how they look on camera. It's just like a normal thing, right? And so the best advice I ever got in terms of that was to start when no one's listening, right? So if you, for example, maybe do video or lives or content, whatever, if you don't have an audience, start then. It's when you built up your audience, your niche, or your what have you, your brand, and then you start the pressure is even more intense because everybody's watching you. So start when you're small, start when you've got nothing, and start putting stuff out there, even if no one watches it. Because what happens is it gives you the experience. You start doing it more and more. You get better at it. You start picking up more of an audience. People start paying more attention to you. And by then you're actually good. It's just when you wait to start until you have the audience, that is the trap people get into. And then they never start. And that's
Just
the way
like
I
we
look at it.
started with a chicken and the egg.
Right. So here's
Yeah.
the easiest way. It's a good analogy, Neil. And here's the easiest way to break through. Whatever the recruiters that are watching or listening now, whatever your niche is, you should write an article. You can do it yourself. Just bullet point it out. And the question you want to answer is secrets of an SAP recruiter, secrets of a left-handed, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Java programmer recruiter, and just bullet
That's
out
a
what
really small niche.
yeah. But so what you do is you take your niche, you write a couple of things, but secrets of people will find that on LinkedIn. And what you do is you start to get the people that you need to follow you. You know, when I write a book, I don't care who reads it, really. My publisher does. I don't. I write it to educate. And if people want to know it, they want to know it. But I write it so that I can go to clients that I want to have and say, hey, you know what? We've known each other, or I've known about you for years. We've never spoken, had no reason to speak before. I've watched your business for the last couple of years. We should talk. But before we do that, here's something that you should read that'll sort of explain why we should be bothered to talk. You start with an article. When I wrote Career Guide for the High-Tech Professional, Where the Jobs Are Now and How to Land Them, I did it after Nortel laid off 8,000 people, and like 600 of them showed up on our door the next Monday. And the way I did it was I started writing for a local newspaper. Every other week, I would have a piece in it. I think 700 words, 750 words, a piece. I have a piece on for job hunters. Then I'd have a piece for recruiters or employers, a piece for job hunters. All I did was take all those pieces and roll them up, and voila, I got a book. So it's not hard, and you are an expert, and you're an expert in your niche. And if you tell the secrets of how to be a Java programmer or how to be a CIO for a satellite company, the people that you want to talk to that are in your niche, that you want to get their trust so that you can market them into other jobs, they're going to contact you. It's those 10, 15, 20 people.
I'll tell you this as well as that another great thing to do when you're first starting your content journey as a recruiter. And it's something that I've really taken to heart myself, is when you're talking to candidates and leaders about their career, right? Typically talk to a prospective client, you know, they can be a little bit closed off at times, especially when it's a first conversation. But you got somebody's resume in front of you, like a VP, director, whatever it is, and you're talking to them, they tend to open up more. And it's a great opportunity, and recruiters do not do this ever, to ask, what frustrates them? What frustrates you about job search, about recruiter? What do you like? What do you don't like? Tell me about that. Tell me more. How does it affect this? What about that? And start digging in and keeping a list, because if you don't know what to write about or talk about or what you're an expert in, just keep a list of all the complaints of the people that you talk to every single day, and you'll never run out of ideas. You'll never run out of articles. You'll never run out of anything to talk about. And the great thing about that is you'll also become a better closer. You'll become a better recruiter. You'll be able to align people with opportunities that fix their career wounds better, and you'll be a better recruiter for your clients, instead of doing this thing where you're just keyword matching all the time. Ask these questions every single time you're on a call. Like, don't get off the call until you find out what really bothers them about whatever, their career search, recruiters, what have
I
you.
hope everybody listening
That's how you
was
get
taking
content.
notes, because that was brilliant advice.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
everybody
good.
can do it. And if you don't think those things are important, all you have to do is go to Google and type in that Google box, recruiters are, and watch what drops down, right? Right? Recruiters are, watch what drops down, and then start to read those things and go, secrets of, so people don't experience that kind of stuff. It's really easy. In fact, the first couple of and you know this, David. Neil may not know this. I had a massive stroke in 2008, left me unable to walk, talk, or read or write. Obviously, I can talk again, But the first speech I gave, I went on stage with a business partner, Kevin Donlan, and we titled it "Secrets of the Job Hunt" or something like that, and we gave it in Detroit. We were expecting, a couple hundred people, maybe. We filled the place. We absolutely filled the place because they came to hear about the secrets. So just steal the idea, folks. Secrets of, fill in what your niche is, talk to a couple of people, put it out there, get some feedback, do it again. Before you know it, you're the guru in X. I mean, from our business, we're the people that people call. So they call our firm when it's absolutely crucial to get it right the first time. If you're looking to save a buck, it's not us. But if you only got one shot of bringing a product to market, if you only got one shot or 2 quarters to fix something, we're the people you tap. That's our reputation.
That's amazing. I'll tell you what, people don't, and this we can do no whole other show on this, but I will say when you mentioned as far as solving problems, whatever your major issues are in your business, people don't realize is that the pains that we're solving aren't just hiring pains. I mean, the pains we're solving are in essence the business pains. I mean, almost all business problems are talent problems, right? We're literally building companies. The work we do is that important, and we don't realize that. We forget that oftentimes. But that said, I think it's about time for us to get into the news. But before I do so, I do want to say, and this is for Jim Durbin, for sir, I prefer the phrase content and journey. So no, that is not a rule. But anyway, it is overused. I will say that. So let's get into the news, shall we? Here we go.
2021, our last show before the new year. Last week we talked about some amazing records that have been broken. So, as always, I want to just talk about some of the big news items, that have been out there. Then we'll, just talk about a survey or so and discuss it. But so on the front, jobless claims. Now, we already knew it was really low last week. Initial jobless claims. This was just put out yesterday. Is the lowest count since 1969. So I mean, it's really amazing. And then we can look at Manpower put out a survey. There's a couple of surveys that are out there, and Manpower says, and Manpower is known for getting press all over the world for all their polls that they do. And this is globally. All 40 countries reported positive employment outlooks. All their statistics it was quote unquote the most optimistic hiring outlook on record for them. All right, so that says something. David, I know you'll have your comments in a minute on some of that stuff, but pretty amazing. And another survey said, well, I'll tell you one other statistic, and this certainly has to do with the temp business, which, yeah, I'm self-serving. That back office staffing solutions runs a back office so you can place temps. You don't have to do anything. Companies like mine, again, no commercial, but we do everything. We have all the taxes, all the licenses.
Wait, Neil, hold on. You have a back office staffing solution for other independent recruiters?
Yes, if they want to place temps, which they need to, just find the client and the candidate, and we do everything else. But listen, the statistic here, Upwork, and which is super famous in it. So 36% of the U.S. workforce performs freelance work now. This was something that 10 years ago, when back office business started getting around, like one day it's going to be 20% of the work for 25, 36%. How every single one of you out there is not tapping into that market blows my mind. And that's my world. So I'm biased, but blows my mind. And everyone needs to tap into that. It's all part of how you're going to capitalize on the changing demographics and the changing, world. So, all right. So here's the survey to sort of talk about. I don't think this is a shock. It ties in with everyone else. Last week we talked about some polls over a number that was pretty staggering, that half the people said they're going to look for a job next week. Well, Robert Half did a poll. They come out with all these expensive polls that they do. And they said that 41% of workers are going to search for a job in the first half of the year. Okay. And similar to last week, more than half of these people seek a salary boost. So I guess these numbers don't surprise you. David, before the show, you were having some comments under some things, but what's your reaction to this? I mean, it's just the news is kind of crazy.
Well, I will say this, and actually I want to get Dave's perspective on it, but I will say, I won't get into the inflation thing quite yet, but in the economy, because I have my own opinions on that. But I will say, when the market's hot like this, and we have everybody, not everybody, but so many candidates out there looking for jobs, are all asking for more money, counter offers out the wazoo, candidates fielding multiple offers simultaneously in certain markets. I think that is makes it incumbent upon any recruiter out there to do, again, just what I said, become a better recruiter, find a career wound. Because my mentor in the business, to be fair, she taught me a lot of bad things, and I had some bad habits from her. But she also taught me some really good. One thing she taught me that will always stuck with me is that if a candidate is only interested in money, that will break your heart every time, because there's always a better offer out there.
Yeah.
Find out the career wound. If you rely on the money, you're dead in the water. And I think that's more important now than ever, because these candidates are getting so many opportunities out there. If you're not figuring that out quick, you're gonna have a real hard time closing anybody.
Let me add one perspective to it to tie into today's show. You're going to be inundated with passive candidates. I mean, with non-passive candidates, you're going to be inundated with people responding to job postings. So those people have the bad habits. I think they're going to get deeper and deeper, or can, into that bad habit of not finding passive candidates. So don't focus on that 50% that's looking to leave and that's looking to be motivated by money. I think that's my takeaway today.
And even a passive candidate
about last week.
And keep even a passive candidate is active to a certain degree, because you can reach, like I've had this experience so many times. You reach out to a candidate who wasn't on the market, but then now they're looking and like, I'm curious to see what else is out there, and then they become an active. It happens all the time. So even if you have a passive candidate, don't think that you're the only game in town. There's a very good chance that they're now looking elsewhere, at least open to the idea. So keep that in mind too. But David, what are your thoughts though, as far as the market over the next year? What's your advice for these recruiters going into this like really super hot market?
Well, my advice would be to run like hell, make as much money as you possibly can. That's the first thing. At whatever price point you're comfortable with. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't try and reinvent yourself. Get a bank load of cash. And then when you're comfortable, if you got a 6 months, a year, 2 years in the bank, whatever it is, turn around and start to ask your clients a question. Have they ever heard that you hire for skill and you fire for fit? And everybody's heard that. I said, have you hired someone because they were great skills and you lost them because they just didn't fit in with the culture? Yeah. Well, how about I teach you how to hire for fit and interview for skill? You can do that? Yeah, that's my business. And all of a sudden you just upended the equation. And now you can say, we have a lot of clients that we do like you, we charge 15, 18, 20%, but we have some clients that actually really it's important that they stem the tide, that they hired the best, and they understand that you hire for fit and you interview for skill. And I can show you how to do that. But to do that, it's a retained agreement and it's 33%, and we're partners going forward.
You know what?
Do that a couple times, you'll end up with clients you keep forever.
Well, and I think to play off on your point, I say, so if you take recruiters need to share the stuff that we talk about on the show. That's why we do it. Yep. So I think you need to let them know in your dialogue that, you need a real relationship and a real job order. And we need to get this because, Mr. Client, here are all the stats. 50% of people are leaving, they're looking for money. It's going to be the same thing. We need to get the underlying fit, the underlying pain you're really trying to solve, and we need to match that with the real reason why someone needs to work for you long term. If we're going to look at a basic interview like we did 2 years ago, if we're going to just submit people and you love them on the interview and you make an offer, that's not going to be addressing interviewing and hiring in today's marketplace. That's how I would spin it.
Great idea.
100%.
Yeah, for us,
it really comes down to, if you picture on the retained world, is that just as you pointed out, Dave, it really comes down to being a consultant, right? You gotta
we are, yeah.
clients aren't professional recruiters. They're not professional interviewers. In fact, they probably don't even enjoy interviewing. They don't enjoy recruiting. They don't enjoy hiring. They're not very good at it. We're the experts, or at least we should be. Although, to be fair, I will say most recruiters, agency-wise, are really good at hustling up candidates, but they're very bad at talent acquisition. Become an expert in talent acquisition. Read David's book, and then use that knowledge to then educate your clients and help them be a better hiring or better hirer than they are right now, because most clients just stink at it. Right. And if you want to be a great retaining recruiter, well, there you go. That's how you do it. Right.
Okay. Why are people keep saying how spot on you are? I've not gotten one spot on. David said great advice. I get nothing. I get no love in this group. It's all DSP. It's always DSP, DS Marsha.
They're all shills. Facebook user, your check is in the mail. Thank you.
So I want to wish you guys and everyone on the show today a great holiday season. Hope you had a great Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. Hope you have a great Christmas. And we'll see y'all in the beginning of the new year for an amazing 2022, and look forward to seeing what's going on out there. So, David, anything you want to share and plug?
Yeah, thank you for
thank you
for inviting me on. This was an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing you guys again in 2022. There's going to be a lot of stuff that I'll leak out to you guys first about Work Insight and the sister board, My New Job Hunt. The platform, I said, is being built for recruiters by recruiters. I'm going to start to look for advisors. Jim Durbin's on the call now. People like that can say, okay, here's why we need this in the job board for us as recruiters, and we'll build that. We spent a lot of money and many years building the structure. I'm not a tech guy, right? But building the structure underneath it, so the data repository, so we can make this thing, sing and dance the way we want it to. And the underlying reason we're doing this is because Hiring Greatness sold like 40,000 copies in English in North America. Sounds good, right? It sold 1 million copies in China, 1 million in the first 6 months. Okay, so over the next 5 years, we need to worry about what we do here in this country to support our businesses. And as recruiters, we need to get smarter about it, because the Chinese, I'm going to say it, I'm going to get in trouble again. They only steal the best, right? So if they got 1 million copies of my book, you can bet they're learning these secrets fast and furious. So we got to.
How they made that delicious orange sauce on General Chow's chicken? You got to give it to them. You got to give it to them.
Well, now I will say, speaking of the Chinese, I for one want to make it clear, I welcome our new Chinese overlords. So I want to get that on record, please. But that said, go to workinsight.io. I tell you, Dave is very humble, doesn't really talk a huge game, downplays things a little bit. But I'll tell you what, things that Dave touches, like they explode. Like there's a lot of quality there. So go to workinsight.io and check it out, and you will not be disappointed. It's and by the way, Dave, anything else you want to promote? And we've put a lot, Hiring Greatness, your job board, anything else throw in there before we get going?
Well, David, you have some stuff that you put out recently. Why don't you just share that with everyone before we go? No, I mean David Patterson. I'm sorry.
Oh, me. Yeah, that's right. So, So a couple things. I've got a year-end deal on my higher level programs, Accelerator and Tactical, 25% off for this month, my Cyber December. Go to thedigitalheadhunter.com/breakdown for a breakdown of what that looks like. If you are looking for some training, go to thedigitalheadhunter.com/quantum-leap. We got something for everybody. And very lastly, my marketing guide, go to thedigitalheadhunter.com/lighthouse. It is like putting your practice on steroids, only the legal kind. I pinky promise. That is it for me. And of course, if you want to get this great ebook from Neil Lebovitz, Get Staffing by the Book, backofficestaffing.com/staffing. And that said, I know Neil's got to go. I've got a 1:00 appointment. David, I'm sure you're busy. Folks, it has been fantastic, David. I think we're going to do this again because there's a lot of uncovered ground that I still want to talk about. So with that said, dig everybody. Peace out. Merry Christmas.
Merry holidays,
Happy Hanukkah.
everyone.
Happy holiday, everybody. Bye.